You ever had one of those moments where time slows down, not because something magical happens, but because your entire life is about to turn into a viral headline? That was me, 3 weeks before my daughter's wedding, standing in the kitchen with an envelope that smelled faintly of betrayal and vanilla latte. The envelope wasn't for me. It was for my daughter, Lily. She had left it on the counter, carelessly opened, probably too busy obsessing over floral arrangements and a playlist that somehow had to feel like love, but also like a TikTok trend. I wasn't snooping, okay? I was curious. Fine, nosy. Whatever helps you sleep tonight. Inside was a cream-colored wedding invitation, embossed in gold, announcing the union of Lily and her fiancé, Daniel. Nothing unusual, except for the name neatly written under guest of honor, Ethan Cole. Now, if you're thinking, cool, Dad, who's Ethan? College professor? Childhood friend? Wrong. Ethan Cole was my wife's lover. Her lover. Not an old flame. Not an ex. Not that guy from yoga. No, this was the man who'd been warming her bed while I was out working to pay for that very wedding. I stood there, staring at his name like it was etched in fire. I could practically hear dramatic telenovela music in the background. My wife, Claire, breezed in from the garden, smelling like lavender and audacity. She gave me the absent smile, the one that says I'm in control, you're irrelevant, and asked, "Everything okay?" "Perfect," I said, my voice sweeter than a southern grandma's tea. And that's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to confront her. No shouting match, no Jerry Springer moment. I was going to do something better, something legendary. See, I had bankrolled this wedding like a saint with a checkbook. The venue? Paid in full. The dress? Imported silk from Italy. The catering? I could have bought a small island for the price of those hors d'oeuvres. And suddenly, as I looked at that smug little name on the invitation, I thought, why should I pay for a party that's doubling as my wife's victory lap with her lover? So, I stayed silent. Smiled even. That evening, I kissed my daughter on the forehead and told her how proud I was. Then, while everyone slept, I opened my laptop and began what history would later call the great financial extraction of our town. First, I canceled the checks for the band and the florist. Then the venue. Oh, sweet mercy, the venue. They were so apologetic when I pulled the plug, but business is business. By 3 a.m., I had clawed back every cent I could. My name disappeared from every contract, every vendor list, every arrangement. It was like I'd never existed. And then, the masterpiece. I called my lawyer, Ron. Yes, Ron. The same guy who once got my buddy out of paying alimony on a technicality involving a cactus farm. Ron, I said, my voice calm as a monk. Draw up a document removing me from financial liability for Lily's wedding. He chuckled and said, "Oh, trouble in paradise?" I replied, "More like paradise just filed for bankruptcy." By sunrise, my bank account was intact, and I had front-row tickets to watch the chaos unfold. And believe me, it did. Because when Claire found out, she didn't just lose her cool, she detonated. Screaming, crying, threatening. Oh, but it gets better. So much better. Because my silence, my calm, that wasn't just strategy. That was gasoline on a fire I was about to light in the most spectacular way. You see, when the news hit the town, it didn't just make waves. It caused a tsunami that dragged everyone into the mess. Lily, her fiancé, Claire, and yes, even lover boy Ethan. And the fallout? Let's just say the headlines didn't read, "Beautiful Wedding in Bloomfield." No, they read something very, very different. You know that satisfying click when a domino falls and sets off the whole chain? That was Friday morning when Claire called me, voice dripping with fake calm. "Sweetheart," she said, which is what she always calls me when she's about to make me regret being born. "The venue just called. They said the payment was reversed. Some sort of mistake?" "Oh," I replied, biting into my toast with the serenity of a monk on Xanax. "That's strange. Maybe you should check with the person who's been making all the big decisions lately." There was silence. A dangerous kind. The kind you hear before the tornado siren goes off. "Jonathan," she said slowly, "did you do something?" "Me?" I laughed. The kind of laugh you'd hear from a man who just installed his ex-wife's new boyfriend's car tires backward. "No, darling. I just realized something important last night." "What?" Her voice cracked like thin ice. That my name isn't on the invitations, Claire. Not as host, not as father of the bride. Hell, not even as a guy who picked up a chair or two. You know whose name is there, though? Ethan, guest of honor. Interesting title for a man who's been honoring you in other ways. There was a sharp inhale. For a moment, I thought the phone might actually combust. You knew? She stammered. Knew. I chuckled darkly. Claire, I've been married to you for 24 years. I know the sound of your lies better than I know my own heartbeat. And then I hung up. No yelling, no theatrics, just the sweet, heavy silence of a man who'd tossed a grenade and walked away. By noon, the first domino hit the ground. Lily called. Dad? She started, voice small and trembling. What's going on? The venue says the booking's canceled, and the florist too. They're saying the payments bounced. They didn't bounce, I corrected gently. I just decided to reallocate my funds to causes that don't involve humiliating me in front of half the town. What? She shrieked, her voice rising 3 octaves. This is my wedding, Dad. You can't just... Sweetheart, I interrupted, keeping my tone calm. You invited Mom's boyfriend to be the guest of honor. At your wedding. Tell me, Lily, at what point did you think your father, who paid for everything, would clap like a happy seal while his wife's lover sips champagne on his dime? There was a pause so long I could hear her heart break through the line. Finally, she whispered, I didn't know you knew. Oh, honey, I sighed. I always know. You think I'd pay for a $12,000 ice sculpture and not notice the frost in my own marriage? She sobbed, mumbled something about fixing it, and hung up. I stared at the phone, wondering if I'd just destroyed my daughter's wedding or saved her from starring in the worst reality show never filmed. By sunset, the town was buzzing. Claire's friends were calling, whispering like a bunch of hens at a feed trough. Words spread faster than a raccoon in a trash can. Did you hear? The father canceled the whole wedding. The caterer posted in a local Facebook group offering high-end entrees at discount because of a last-minute cancellation, which was basically a public obituary for my daughter's dream day. But the best part? The headlines. Oh yes. By the time I poured myself a bourbon that night, my phone was lighting up with screenshots. Bloomfield's wedding of the year turns into a scandal. Father pulls out funding after shocking discovery. And right under that, a blurry photo of Claire storming out of the boutique with her $7,000 dress in a garbage bag. I swear, I almost framed it. But here's the thing. The real storm wasn't the cancellations. It was the fact that Ethan, the man himself, decided to show up at my house the next morning. And what he said at my front door. Oh, that was when this story stopped being a family drama and turned into a full-blown war. If you've ever seen a raccoon try to look intimidating, that's about how Ethan looked standing on my porch Saturday morning. Designer polo, perfect hair, a watch that cost more than his personality. He rang the bell twice, like a man with a death wish. I opened the door with a mug of black coffee in hand. No smile, no greeting, just the kind of stare that says, I've buried better men than you in the backyard. Jonathan, he started, flashing a smile he probably practiced in the mirror. We need to talk. Oh, do we? I took a slow sip of my coffee, letting the silence choke him. He cleared his throat. Look, I understand you're upset. Upset? I interrupted, chuckling low. Ethan, I'm not upset. I'm fascinated. Do you know how bold you have to be to screw a man's wife and then show up at his house wearing cologne that smells like midlife crisis? His jaw tightened. This isn't about us. It's about Lily. You ruined her wedding. She's devastated. Oh, so now you're the voice of reason? I leaned against the doorframe, eyeing him like a bug I might flick off my porch. Tell me something, Ethan. Did you RSVP before or after you unzipped my wife's dignity? Color drained from his face. He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. Listen, Jonathan. You don't have to make this harder than it is. Claire and we're in love. She's going to leave you eventually. Why drag this out? I swear, for a second, the world went silent. Even the birds outside stopped chirping. Then I laughed, not a normal laugh, but the kind that makes people inch toward the exit. Leave me, I said, taking a step closer until we were nose to nose. Buddy, she can leave whenever she wants. But you? You just stepped into a game you don't understand. Ethan tried to puff out his chest, like that would help. Are you threatening me? Threatening, I whispered, lowering my voice so he had to lean in. No, Ethan. I'm promising you. You haven't even seen the trailer for this movie yet. And then came the twist, the part that hit me like a sucker punch in a dark alley. Before Ethan could respond, a car pulled up behind him. Out stepped my daughter, Lily, her eyes bloodshot from crying. She ran toward us, heels clicking like a warning bell. Dad, stop, she screamed, planting herself between us. This isn't what you think. Really, I said, tilting my head. Because I think it looks exactly like my wife's boyfriend trying to lecture me on family values. No, she cried, tears spilling. Ethan's not Mom's boyfriend anymore. He's my fiancé's father. The world froze. My brain tried to process that sentence like a bad Wi-Fi connection. Come again, I said slowly. She gulped air, sobbing. Daniel, my Daniel. Ethan is his dad. That's why he was invited. Mom, she didn't tell you because she used to date him. A long time ago. Before you. And they reconnected because of the wedding planning, but nothing happened. I swear. Behind her, Ethan looked like a man who'd just swallowed a live bee. He opened his mouth to explain, but I held up a finger so sharp it could have cut steel. So, I said, voice calm as a loaded gun. You're telling me the man standing on my porch is not only the guy who slept with my wife in the past, but also the father of my daughter's groom? Silence. The kind you only hear in confession booths and execution chambers. Oh, I muttered finally, a slow grin curling at the edge of my mouth. This just got interesting. I just stood there on my porch, coffee cooling in my hand, staring at my daughter like she had just told me she joined a cult. Let me get this straight, I said slowly, savoring every syllable like it was a fine whiskey. Ethan here isn't just a random guy you invited for moral support. He's Daddy Groom? Granddaddy Groom. Ethan mumbled under his breath, then immediately regretted it because my glare could have cooked a steak. Lily's voice cracked like glass. Dad, please don't make this worse. I didn't know any of this until last week. Daniel told me Ethan was his dad after we sent out the invitations. He didn't want to invite him at first because they're complicated. But then Mom insisted and, of course she did. I cut in, laughing like a man who just hit the point of no return. Claire always had a talent for making everything about her. Tell me, sweetheart, was this before or after she decided to rekindle her complicated history with our guest of honor? Dad, Lily shrieked, eyes blazing with betrayal. Nothing happened. Mom told me herself. Oh, well, I said, clapping my hands together. If your mother said it, then it must be true. Because if there's one thing Claire is famous for, it's honesty. Ethan cleared his throat, trying to reclaim some dignity. Jonathan, listen. I raised a hand. Ethan, I swear on my last good nerve, if you say one more word, you'll be communicating through an Ouija board. He shut up so fast I heard his jaw click. And then, as if the universe wanted to spice up the chaos, Claire's Lexus rolled into the driveway like a chariot of doom. She stepped out wearing sunglasses big enough to cover her sins, holding a latte like it was a shield. Jonathan, she called, fake smiling as if TMZ was filming. Can we please talk like adults? Oh, honey, I said sweetly. Adults don't schedule family reunions with their ex-lovers behind their husband's back. Adults don't, what's the word? Humiliate their spouse in front of the whole damn zip code. She froze, then glanced nervously at Lily. What did you tell him? Nothing. Lily cried, her voice cracking. He already knew, Mom. About everything. Claire's face turned pale, like someone had just pulled the rug out from under her favorite yoga mat. For a moment, I thought she'd faint right there on the driveway. But no, Claire wasn't the fainting type. Claire was the double down and gaslight you until you doubt reality type. Jonathan, she said, stepping closer. This is not what you think. Ethan and I, we have history, yes, but it's ancient history. We only reconnected because of the wedding. For Lily. For the kids. Oh, for the kids? I laughed so hard my neighbors probably thought I'd lost it. Sure. And I suppose you were going to tell me all about this little family reunion after the honeymoon? Or maybe in your next Christmas card. Her jaw tightened. You're being dramatic. Sweetheart, I said, leaning in so close she could smell the sarcasm on my breath. You haven't seen dramatic yet. And then, as the three of them stood there, Lily crying, Claire seething, Ethan regretting every life choice. I dropped the bomb. Since we're all in the mood for full disclosure, I said casually, I should probably mention something. The wedding? The one you were all counting on me to bankroll? Yeah, it's gone. Cancelled. Vendors paid off. Contracts voided. Every dime back in my account. Lily gasped like I'd just slapped her with a Bible. Dad, no. Claire's sunglasses nearly slid off her face. You wouldn't. Oh, but I did, I said, grinning like a villain in a Disney reboot. And guess what? The venue already rented out the date to someone else. So unless you want to get married in a Denny's parking lot, I'd start Googling alternatives. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Lily burst into tears. Claire hissed my name like a curse, and Ethan muttered something about needing to sit down. And just when I thought it couldn't get any better, a car door slammed behind us, and out stepped Daniel, the groom, looking like a man who'd just walked into a war zone with no helmet. What is going on? He demanded. Oh, son, if you only knew. Daniel froze in the driveway, his tie half loose, eyes darting from Lily's tears to Ethan's poker face to Claire looking like she'd just swallowed a lemon. And then to me, the calm in the middle of this hurricane, sipping my now-cold coffee like it was whiskey. What is happening here? He asked slowly, like a man stepping into quicksand. I smiled the kind of smile that says, oh, son, you're about to grow up fast. Well, I began. Your fiancé invited her future father-in-law to the wedding, who also happens to be my wife's ex-lover. And surprise, surprise, I'm the last guy in town to know. Daniel blinked. Twice. Then looked at Ethan. Dad, tell me that's not true. Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it again like a fish gasping for dignity. It's complicated. Daniel's laugh was hollow. Complicated? Are you kidding me? I told you to stay out of this wedding. I told you. His voice cracked on that last word, and something in my gut twisted. Then he turned to Lily, his face pale as chalk. And you knew? I found out last week. Lily wailed. I didn't tell Dad because I knew he'd react like this. Like what? I said, feigning innocence. Like a man who doesn't enjoy sponsoring a family reunion between his wife and her old friend. Daniel held up his hands. Okay, everyone stop. I didn't want this. I wanted simple. Small wedding. No drama. And now, his voice broke, and suddenly he wasn't looking at Ethan or Lily anymore. He was looking at me, and his next words hit like a sniper shot. Mr. Archer, I was going to tell you this after the honeymoon, but maybe now's the time. He swallowed hard. I signed a prenup with Lily, at your wife's suggestion. The silence was deafening. Even the wind stopped blowing. You what? I asked, each word sharp enough to draw blood. Claire jumped in, her voice dripping with desperation. Jonathan, listen, it's not what you think. Oh, really? I said, stepping toward her like a wolf circling its prey. Because what I think is that while I was writing checks, you were making sure the golden boy didn't have to share his trust fund if he got bored of my daughter. Daniel shook his head frantically. No, that's not it. I insisted because I thought it was the right thing. I didn't want anyone thinking Lily was marrying me for money. Oh, relax, Romeo, I said, holding up a hand. The only thing I'm thinking right now is how fast this whole circus turned into a Greek tragedy. And then, as if on cue, the neighbors started filming. Phones came out like guns at high noon. Mrs. Patterson from across the street was live-streaming from her lawn chair with a margarita in hand. And because our town has the gossip metabolism of a hummingbird, within 10 minutes the local Facebook group was on fire. Wedding meltdown on Oakwood Drive. Police incoming. But oh, we weren't done yet. Because while the comments section was already betting on who'd throw the first punch, Claire decided to go full kamikaze. You know what, Jonathan? She spat, ripping off her sunglasses like a soap opera villain. You think you're the victim here? You're not. You've been cold for years. Absent. I found warmth somewhere else because you were too busy worshiping your business and your ego. There it was, the speech. The justification monologue cheaters everywhere rehearse in their heads. I almost clapped. Oh, sweetheart, I said, my voice low, calm, lethal. If you wanted warmth, you should have bought a blanket. Not recycled your ex-boyfriend during our daughter's wedding. Lily sobbed harder. Daniel looked like he wanted to disappear. Ethan. Well, Ethan looked like a man Googling witness protection in his head. And me? I was done. Done playing nice. Done swallowing betrayal like cheap gin. So I stepped onto the grass, pulled my phone from my pocket, and said loudly enough for every phone camera in a 2-block radius to hear. Attention, everyone. Wedding's off. Reception's canceled. The bride and groom will not be appearing because this family is officially under new management. Then I hit send on an email that made every vendor, planner, and caterer CC'd in the town group chat. Subject line: due to unforeseen circumstances, the Archer wedding is canceled indefinitely. And if you think that was the end? Oh no, that was the opening act. Because an hour later, as I sat in my office with a fresh glass of bourbon, my phone buzzed with a text that made me choke on ice. From Ron, my lawyer. You're not going to believe what I just found in your wife's email. And friends, what he found made everything so much worse. Picture me in my office, glass of bourbon sweating on the desk, thinking the worst was behind me. That's when Ron's text hit my screen like a bullet. Check your email. Now. Ron doesn't do all caps unless the world's on fire. So I open my laptop, and there it is, a PDF attachment titled Forwarded Chain, Urgent. Now, if you've ever had your stomach drop before a click, multiply that by 10. Then add dynamite. I opened it. And what I saw? Oh, dear reader, if this were a movie, this is where the ominous violence starts. It was an email thread between Claire, Ethan, and wait for it, Daniel's mother. Subject line: post-wedding agreement. I'll give you the highlights because you deserve the juicy bits. Claire writing: once Jonathan wires the final payment for the wedding and honeymoon, we move forward. I'll handle him. He's predictable. Ethan replying: Jonathan's predictable? You sure? He's ex-army. I've seen guys like him snap. And then the kicker, from Daniel's mother: make sure Lily signs the additional document. We can't risk her laying claim to the estate if this blows up. My jaw locked so hard I thought I cracked a molar. Not only were they planning the perfect little fairy tale wedding, they were planning my financial funeral. Claire wasn't just cheating. She was orchestrating a setup so pristine it deserved a Netflix series. I called Ron. Tell me this is some kind of sick joke. He chuckled, dark and amused. Jonathan, this isn't a joke. It's a buffet of felony-level stupidity. They didn't even use encrypted email. I've seen middle schoolers cover their tracks better. So what do we do? I asked, already gripping the phone like a weapon. What do we do? Ron repeated, his voice almost gleeful. We end this. Publicly, legally, and spectacularly. Now, a rational man might have waited. A rational man might have quietly filed for divorce and let the courts handle it. But me? I'm not rational when I've been humiliated and turned into a side character in my own life. So I drafted an email. Subject line: for everyone attending the wedding. A note from the father of the bride. I attached the entire email thread. Every slimy word. Then I hit send to all. Guests. Vendors. The local paper. And yes, Claire's yoga group, because I'm petty like that. Within 15 minutes, my phone was vibrating like a jackhammer. Calls. Texts. Screenshots of the town Facebook group exploding. My favorite comment: somebody get popcorn. This is better than Netflix. By the time the sun dipped behind the trees, the Archer family wasn't just gossip, it was breaking news. Headline on the town's site: wedding scandal rocks Oakwood. Secret emails reveal financial scheme. Oh, and the best part? A candid photo of Claire outside her yoga studio, looking like someone just told her Pilates was illegal. But you know what they say about storms? They always save the worst lightning bolt for last. Because while I was savoring my bourbon and the chaos I'd unleashed, I got another text from Ron. You're going to want to sit down for this one. The prenup? It's not valid. And Ethan just lawyered up. Looks like they're coming after your company next. I laughed. Hard. Because they had no idea I was 10 steps ahead. I'd already done something that would make this entire town's jaw hit the floor. And that, my friends, is where the real fun begins. So there I was, bourbon in hand, watching the internet roast my family like a Thanksgiving turkey. Claire's phone probably sounded like a fire alarm by now. Ethan? Probably Googling how to disappear in Mexico. Daniel? Poor kid was stuck between future father-in-law and father who thinks he's Romeo. But me? I was calm. Why? Because 3 months ago, long before I knew about the affair, long before Lily's Pinterest board consumed half my bandwidth, I made a little business move. Call it intuition. Call it paranoia. I call it insurance. See, I've built a company from scratch. 20 years of sweat, sacrifice, and enough sleepless nights to make a vampire concerned. When my income tripled, I started hearing whispers. Advice. From lawyers. From friends who'd been burned. Protect your assets, John. Put them where greedy hands can't reach. So I did. Quietly. Thoroughly. Every share of my company. Transferred to an irrevocable trust. The house. Under a corporate shell. Liquid savings. In a separate account under the trust's name, beyond any marital claim. And the kicker? Claire signed a post-nup 2 years ago when she wanted that Mercedes, or she'd feel unloved. My lawyer drafted it so tight NASA couldn't poke holes in it. Translation, Claire could strip the walls bare, and she still wouldn't get a dime beyond what I allow. And allow I would, just enough to buy her a tent on eBay. So when Ron said, "They're coming for your company," I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my bourbon. Let them, I said. They'll need a map, a flashlight, and divine intervention to find a scent of it. Ron chuckled. You're an evil genius. No, I corrected, swirling the ice in my glass. I'm just a man who got tired of being everyone's ATM. Then came the cherry on top. Because while the town was gossiping, my email drop went viral outside Oakwood. Someone screenshotted it and posted on Twitter. Father cancels wedding after uncovering mother of bride scheme. Leaks emails to entire guest list. Within an hour, 500K likes. Hashtags trending. Hashtag weddinggate. Hashtag savage dad. Hashtag Don T mess with Jonathan. Claire's reputation? Torched. Ethan? Memed into oblivion. My favorite so far. A photo of Ethan with the caption, Guest of Honor. In hell. At 8 p.m. sharp, Claire stormed into my office like a Category 5 hurricane. Makeup streaked, hair a battlefield, eyes spitting venom. How could you? She shrieked. Oh, sweetheart, I said, leaning back in my chair, voice calm as an assassin. I should be asking you that. You ruined Lily's life? She screamed, slamming her manicured hand on my desk. No, I said, rising slowly. You did. You turned her wedding into a power play. You humiliated her before I even touched a single contract. Don't you dare put this on me. She froze. And then, for the first time in years, I saw it. The fear. Not anger. Not defiance. Fear. Because she realized something in that moment. I wasn't bluffing. Not about the money. Not about the marriage. Not about the war she started. Jonathan, she whispered, her voice cracking. Please, let's fix this. We can talk to the vendors. Reschedule the wedding. I'll make it up to you. I cut her off with a laugh so cold it made her flinch. Oh, darling. The only thing getting rescheduled is our court date. And just when I thought I'd delivered the final blow, the universe decided to hand me a nuke wrapped in a bow. Because as Claire stormed out, my phone buzzed again. Ron's name lit up the screen with one line. Check local news. Front page. It's about Ethan, and it's bad. And when I saw the headline, let's just say, this story went from scandal to national sensation overnight. Ron wasn't kidding. I opened the news site and nearly spit out my bourbon. Local businessman Ethan Cole under investigation for fraud and tax evasion. Front page. Big bold letters. And the best part? A photo of Ethan in handcuffs being escorted out of his own gym like a discount celebrity. Turns out lover boy wasn't just charming the wrong wife. He'd been cooking his books for years. Illegal contracts, fake invoices, laundering money through his fitness empire. And the feds? They'd been circling for months. My little email scandal just gave them the excuse to swoop in. Claire saw it too. I know because 5 minutes later my phone lit up with 17 missed calls. Then one text. Jonathan, please. We need to talk. Oh, now we need to talk? Sweetheart, the time for talking was before you picked a con artist with abs. The town exploded harder than the 4th of July. Oakwood's gossip page turned into a crime podcast overnight. My favorite comment. Imagine losing your man and your criminal side piece in the same week. Couldn't be me. And Lily? She showed up at my door in tears, not anger this time, but shame. Dad, I had no idea. I hugged her. I know, baby girl. This wasn't your fault. But trust me, dodging that wedding? The best thing that ever happened to you. As for Claire, she packed a suitcase and vanished to her sister's place. Rumor has it, she's already lawyering up. Cute. I've got Ron, a legal pit bull who once made a surgeon cry in small claims court. Game on. By the time Oakwood scheduled an emergency town hall to discuss the recent incident, the entire county was buzzing. Local reporters showed up like it was the Oscars. Claire was there, trying to look composed in a beige blazer that screamed damage control. Ethan? Absent. Hard to attend when you're in federal custody. When they gave me the mic, the room went dead quiet. I took a breath, looked around at all the faces, neighbors, vendors, even Mrs. Patterson live streaming from the front row, and said, I want to thank everyone for your concern. But let's be clear, this wasn't just a wedding disaster. This was a wake-up call about trust, loyalty, and knowing who you share a table with. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Claire shifted in her seat. I let the silence stretch, then dropped the hammer. As of today, Claire and I are separating. All shared assets are frozen. And the Oakwood Community Fund, the one we started years ago, I've just doubled my contribution. In Lily's name. Gasps. Applause. Phones shooting videos like fireworks. I smiled and added the coup de grace. Oh, and the reception hall we booked? Instead of a wedding, it'll host a free community gala next month. Everyone's invited. Except scammers. The room erupted. Cheers. Laughter. Someone actually yelled, Legend. Claire stormed out, face white as printer paper. That night, Oakwood Buzz posted the headline. Jonathan Archer turns wedding scandal into community celebration. Town calls him a hero. And me? I walked home under the streetlights, calm, free, and grinning like a man who burned down his prison and built a throne from the ashes. 2 weeks later, the world had moved on, except Oakwood. Here, the scandal was folklore. People still whispered, did you hear what Jonathan did? Like it was a campfire story. Ethan? He's facing 12 counts of fraud, tax evasion, and wire fraud. His mugshot is the town's favorite meme now, captioned, Guest of honor at federal prison. Claire? She made one last pathetic swing. Filed for spousal support. Cute. Ron sent back a single page. Refer to postnup, section 12. Translation, she gets nothing. Not the house, not the car, not even the blender she loved so much. Last I heard, she's renting a one-bedroom and trying to reinvent herself as a life coach. Irony's got jokes. Lily? She's healing. Daniel broke things off. Amicably, surprisingly. Guess sharing a last name with a federal defendant wasn't the vibe he wanted. Lily moved back in with me for a while. We have quiet dinners now, laughter returning like spring after a brutal winter. And me? I'm good. Better than good. The gala I threw at the canceled wedding venue? It was a hit. Town came out in droves. Live music, great food, free drinks on my dime. It wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. I turned a humiliation into a celebration. People will talk about that night for years. As the last song played and the lights dimmed, Mrs. Patterson raised a glass to me and said, Jonathan, you're a legend. I smiled and thought, no, I'm just a man who refused to be the punchline. Because here's the truth, betrayal doesn't break you. It sharpens you. It burns the dead weight and leaves the steel. And as I walked out of that hall under a sky full of stars, I knew one thing for sure. My story didn't end with a wedding. It started with a war and ended with freedom. And the headline the next morning? From groom's dad to town hero, Jonathan Archer wins the final word. Checkmate.